Apologies for the delay. We're having some technical difficulties, but I think we're almost good. Hi, good evening. Welcome to a regular meeting of the East Windsor Regional School District Board of Education. Written advance notice of this meeting was provided at least 48 hours ago. Such notice provided the time, date, and location of this meeting and included the agenda to the extent it was known at the time. Notice of this meeting has been given in accordance with law. Minutes of this meeting are being kept by the board secretary and will be made available promptly to any member of the public requesting them from the board secretary at 25A Leshen Lane, Hightstown, New Jersey. Minutes will be provided at cost and in accordance with board policy. Are there any board members present who believe this meeting to be in violation of the Open Public Meeting Act? There being none, we may proceed. In compliance with the fire code of the state of New Jersey, I call your attention to the emergency exits for this room, which are located in the back and side. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Item C.
Having read the materials received, I move the agenda be approved as submitted.
Second.
Any questions? Poll the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Berjoli,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
Yes.
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso.
Yes. Item D.
Be it resolved that the East Windsor Regional School District may hold 2 closed sessions at this meeting. These closed sessions concern HIB report of October 14th, 2024, personnel, administrative introduction, MHK assistant principal. Minutes of these closed sessions will be made available to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists.
Second.
Any questions? Poll the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes. Yes.
Ms. Berjoli,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
Yes.
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso.
Yes. We'll now move on to a student representative report and hear from our 2 student reps.
Hello, everyone. We're so excited to be back and have a lot of updates this week with regard to the student body.
Today commences the start of our well-anticipated Spirit Week. This week is especially special not only because it's our first Spirit Week of the year, but also because it will end with our pep rally this Friday. This year, we are experimenting with something new, where this time we are incorporating a universal theme where all classes will prepare and organize their Spirit Day activities with that theme. This year's theme is high school movies, so our seniors are doing High School Musical, our juniors are doing Mean Girls, our sophomores are doing Grease, and our freshmen are doing Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Today, from 12 to 3 p.m., our class councils and students from each grade level help decorate their designated hallways based on their theme, so we're excited to see what each grade has in store. We also have some fun Spirit Days we are looking forward to this week, which will include Olympic Day, where students can support their favorite country or sport by wearing a jersey or the colors of that country's flag. Next is Inside Out, where students are encouraged to dress up as an emotion featured in the recent Inside Out 2 movie. On Thursday, we have High School Movie Day relating back to the theme, where students from each grade are encouraged to dress up as one of the iconic characters in that movie. And finally, we have our Class Color Day on Friday, where each grade wears their assigned color, which will help unify the grades at the pep rally on Friday.
So our Spirit Week will culminate in the highly anticipated annual pep rally on Friday. This pep rally has been planned by the Student Council in coordination with the 4 class councils for many weeks to come, and we are very excited for this unifying event. This pep rally will consist of recognizing all of our fall sports teams, followed by the anticipated lip-sync dances. The lip-sync dances will be based off the movie theme, and our class councils have been directing practices for these lip-sync dances for the last few weeks. We also have organized games set up by our class councils, and finally, the homecoming court will be recognized. Later that night, on Friday, during the football game, the homecoming king and queen will be announced, and the football, cheer, and marching band will all be working hard in representing our school as they have been all season long. On Saturday, we have our homecoming dance hosted by the cheer team. We're really thrilled to have this homecoming dance this year and celebrate with our peers.
Next, we'd like to take the time to highlight an amazing opportunity we had last week. On October 8th to October 11th, with assistance from the Civic Center, we had the privilege of hosting a voter registration drive for our HHS students. For all students above the age of 17, they had the opportunity to register and have their questions answered on how to make their voice heard in the political sphere of their community. With this year being an election year, this was a fantastic opportunity to have our students become involved in civic engagement and make sure that they know their opinions matter.
On October 18th, the student body will take the PSAT. Following last year's change, the test is now online instead of the traditional paper version. We would like to commend the administration for how well the new test format was integrated, as the students taking the test are able to familiarize themselves with this new format a week prior during an activity period. This is expected to make it very easy for everyone to adjust the day of. As for seniors, we will not have to take the test this year, and instead will have a delayed opening.
A brief update on athletics. Last Thursday, Hightstown had an incredible game against West Windsor-Plainsboro. Not only did they win the game with a score of 26-0, but Hightstown also won the coveted Mayor's Cup Award. Before the game, the senior class also organized a very special tailgate where students were provided food, outdoor games, and football tickets for a $5 entry fee into the event. This is a great way not only to raise money for the senior class, but to also raise morale right before this incredible game. We're wishing our football team and our other incredible fall sports teams luck on their upcoming games this season.
On October 9th, the counseling department organized a FAFSA workshop to assist students looking to learn more about the New Jersey requirement for all students to fill out the FAFSA. Many seniors and senior families were able to take advantage of this opportunity to learn more about the college financial aid process.
Next, we're excited to spotlight one of the year's most anticipated events, our Haunted Hallways event. Every year, the Student Council hosts a fun trick-or-treat experience through the haunted halls of HHS. Various clubs and class councils will transform their designated areas with spooky decorations, each offering candy to those who pass by. This event is open to all children in the district, and we ask that all kids be accompanied by an adult for safety. Make sure to mark your calendars. You won't want to miss on the frightful fun.
And following up from our last board meeting report on the suggestion boxes, we have not had any responses as of yet. However, our flyers have been put up as of today, and we are using our social media platform presence to garner more responses.
With that being said, we thank everyone for listening to our report, and we look forward to seeing you again at the next meeting.
Great, thank you so much for that Great report. Does anybody have any questions?
Okay, thank you, student representatives. Excellent job tonight. So I'm going to do a quick introduction. This is a special time of the year. This is the time where we have the opportunity to celebrate some very special people. 25-year employees in the East Windsor Regional School District, something that we shouldn't take lightly. Significant amount of commitment and dedication for these individuals to remain in one school district for quite some time. So we don't have a huge number, but very significant individuals nonetheless. So we're going to take some time to celebrate them, recognize them this evening. I'm going to ask the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, Erin Civillo, to come up to the podium and to begin our recognition.
Thank you. So just to repeat a little bit what Mark said about really what a momentous event this is, you don't really realize how significant it is to be in the same school district for 25 years. So I just got the Department of Labor employee tenure summary came out on September 26th. So what that says, which I can't see, what that says is that the median number of years in January of 2024 that employees spend at their current employer is 3.9 years. Let me say it again, right? 3.9 years is the median. We all remember 8th grade Algebra 1, the median. 50% of them are longer, 50% of them are shorter. So 3.9 years. It gets a little bit better for people who are in the public sector, yay us, except rather than the private sector. That goes up to 6.2 years of their average tenure in a public sector. It does get a little bit older for people who are my age. So once you hit about 55, your average tenure in your current employee situation is 9.4 years. We have people in East Windsor Regional School District for 25 years. 25 years. How many times more is that than the average worker? 10 times more than the people who are starting jobs now are in their district than we have right here. So it's really, really a momentous event. We're all very proud of you. So we're going to bring up, we have four of our 7 people who have reached this milestone. We're going to start with EMK, Miss Nicole Folks, and Miss Jill Groy. Come on up, Jill. Did I say your name right? Good.
That was a lot of math, just saying. All right, good evening. So it is my privilege to recognize an excellent educator, Mrs. Jill Groyce, for her 25 years of service to the East Windsor Regional School District. For a quarter of a century, Mrs. Groyce has not only shared her expertise and passion for music, but has also enriched the lives of so many students at Ethel McKnight Elementary School. In addition to her incredible work at McKnight, Jill has also brought her talents to Krebs Middle School, where she spent 1 year fostering musical growth in older students. Whether teaching elementary or middle school, her dedication and influence have been felt throughout the district. What stands out most about Mrs. Groyce is not just her skills as a music teacher, but her deep commitment to her students. She gets to know students and connects with them on a personal level. She has been a source of inspiration, creativity, and confidence for many, helping them find their own voices, both in music and in life. Jill, your dedication, passion, and hard work have made a lasting impact on our entire school community. We are deeply grateful for your 25 years of service, and we know that the legacy you've built will continue to resonate for many more years to come. Thank you, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ms. Emerson and Sherry Firth.
Good evening, everyone. So today we are here to honor Sherry Firth, and I am honored to recognize Sherry for her 25 years of dedicated service to the East Windsor Regional School District. And you have done a lot in your 25 years here. Ms. Firth has been dedicated to teaching and supporting students with IEPs in various programs, including out-of-class and in-class resource, self-contained programs, and most recently, you teach students who receive Wilson reading instruction. Ms. Firth is well respected by her colleagues. One position she held was lead teacher for special education. While that's not a position any longer, Ms. Firth is still seen as a mentor and someone who is always available to offer suggestions and strategies for teachers who need some help working with striving readers. Ms. Firth is a fierce advocate for her students, working tirelessly to ensure that they have the resources, support, and tools they need to become stronger, more confident readers. Ms. Firth actively seeks professional development opportunities to enhance her teaching practices, and her dedication to staying current with educational trends and methodologies has a positive impact on her students' learning. Ms. Firth is also committed to ensuring that her classroom atmosphere is one where every student feels valued and respected. Her efforts to celebrate diversity and promote acceptance has created a harmonious and collaborative learning environment where her students thrive. Beyond the classroom, Ms. Firth understands the importance of the homeschool connection and prioritizes communication with families. Additionally, she regularly engages with parents and guardians to ensure that her students' needs are being met both at home and at school. You volunteer for school events, demonstrating your commitment with community, and your participation enhances school experience for your students and families. Congratulations and thank you for 25 incredible years of service, compassion, and excellence in education. Your impact on the lives of your students and your unwavering commitment to fostering an inclusive, supportive, and engaging learning environment is commendable.
Can I have Patty Horowitz and Miss Allen?
Good evening, everyone. For a quarter of a century, Patty Horowitz has shown unwavering dedication, compassion, and resilience, qualities that not only define an exceptional educator, but a true advocate for their students. Raised in Spain, Patty learned English as a second language, and this personal journey has given her a unique ability. Her understanding and empathy have built strong relationships that extend beyond the classroom, making her a valuable bridge between students, their families, and our school community. Beyond the classroom, Mrs. Horowitz is a mentor to new teachers and new principals, generously sharing her expertise and guiding others as they begin their own journeys in education. She not only cares deeply about her students, but sees the good in every single one of them, always seeking out their strengths and helping them shine in their own unique ways. In special education, teaching is more than a job. It's a calling. And Mrs. Horowitz, you answer that call every day with a commitment to ensuring that every child feels valued, seen, and capable of achieving their fullest potential. Tonight, we not only celebrate your years, but the countless lives that you've touched along the way. Congratulations, Mrs. Horowitz, for 25 years of passion, perseverance, and heart.
Mr. Vinson and Terry Sullivan.
I apologize for my voice. I think I was cheering a little too much at a football game. It's with great respect and admiration that we honor Terry Sullivan for her 25 years of dedication and service to Hightstown High School. Terry first joined us in 1995, and although she was faced with a difficult setback when there was a reduction in force, her story is one of resilience and passion. In 1999, Hightstown High School had the fortunate decision to invite her back. We have been blessed with her unwavering commitment to education ever since. From 1999 to 2006, Terry made significant impact as the advisor for the Student Council, fostering leadership and guiding students to take active roles in the school community. Her efforts helped shape the next generation of student leaders, instilling a sense of responsibility and school pride. As a teacher, Terry has left an indelible mark in the field of science education. Her passion for biology, combined with her ability to connect with students, have made her a beloved figure in the classroom. For the last 10 years, she has taught AP Bio, challenging and inspiring our brightest students to excel. Many of these students have gone on to pursue careers in science, undoubtedly influenced by her enthusiasm and deep content knowledge. In addition to her work in the classroom, Terry has been a mentor to 3 student teachers, guiding them through the complexities of teaching and imparting her wisdom that she's accumulated over nearly 25 years. Her influence on future educators ensures her legacy will continue long after she steps away from the classroom. For the last 12 years, Terry has been a member of the EWE Building Representatives representing the East Windsor Education Association. She has been an advocate for her colleagues, representing their voices within the larger school community. Her leadership in this role has strengthened the bonds within our school and enhanced the working environment for all. Terry, your 25 years of dedication to Hightstown High School has left a mark on your legacy. Your influence on students, colleagues, and the school community is immeasurable. On behalf of everyone at Hightstown High School, we thank you for all your service and congratulate you on this remarkable milestone. You're truly a part of the fabric of this school, and we're grateful to have you. Best of luck.
We have 3 other staff members who've reached this milestone who are unable to come tonight, so I'm just going to acknowledge them a little bit. Carlos Gavinales, who is our Transportation Assistant Supervisor, has been in East Windsor for 25 years. He started out as a bus driver and worked his way up to Assistant Transportation Supervisor. His knowledge, history, and memory of the department is quite impressive. And I've really experienced this myself. You could ask him things about routes from like 1993, and he knows exactly what they are. Renee Kearns is from Grace N. Rogers Elementary School. Ms. Kearns meets every student at the door every day and greets them with a this or that question. It gives her the opportunity to check in with her students and helps build rapport. She has created a classroom atmosphere where every student feels valued and respected, and her efforts to celebrate diversity and promote acceptance has created a collaborative learning environment where children thrive. And John Vaghi. John Vaghi has taught Algebra 2, AP Calculus AB, and AP Calculus BC, helping countless students navigate the complexity of mathematics and to reach their highest potential. Beyond the classroom, John played a significant role in shaping our athletic program. For 10 years, he coached the girls' swim team, guiding student athletes with the same dedication and focus he brought to his teaching. His leadership as a coach not only helped the team achieve success in the pool, but also instilled a sense of discipline, perseverance, and teamwork in his athletes. We congratulate all of our recipients today. We have another round of applause for them. We are going to do our obligatory photo. Elise is reminding me, like I would ever forget a photo op. If we could have all the recipients come up with Mr. Daniels. And do you want to come too? Yeah. Ms. LaRusso too, board president.
We'll just take a 5-minute break, and then we're going to have the HIB presentation.
Okay. We're going to transition into the next presentation tonight. This is just a brief introduction on what we are going to review. Each year, school districts in New Jersey are required twice a year to report data that is provided into something called the Student Data Safety System, SSDS. Typically, there's two types of information that's provided into this system. You know, obviously, incidents of violence, vandalism, harassment, intimidation, bullying, weapons offenses, substance abuse, data related to restraint, seclusion, and anything connected to a student needing to be removed from school. Also, in that report is connected to just training surrounding HIB, and really more HIB prevention and programs. Tonight's presentation will also include something else that we're required to do, and that's kind of a HIB self-assessment. So that's based on some criteria that school safety teams in general should be kind of watching over as it relates to HIB prevention within schools. And there is kind of a scoring component within the rubric that teams at each school utilize to develop the score. So with that said, I'm going to turn things over to Lauren O'Brien. Lauren is our supervisor of counseling, but she also wears the hat of being the district's anti-bullying coordinator who works with our anti-bullying specialists at each of the schools. So with that said, Lauren.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to start with just a general overview of what the student safety data is. And we do this twice a year, so it's just a reminder, it's required by the DOE. We report twice a year. And we are going to be talking tonight about incidents that fall into the categories on the screen: violence, vandalism, substance, weapons, and HIB confirmed. So this is a snapshot of all of the buildings in the district and our numbers in each category. In the following slides, I'm going to go into a little bit more detail. Just a reminder, this is report period 2 of last school year. So that report period 2 runs from January to June. So our first category is violence, and if you look on the right side, you'll see some incidents that must be reported. Our numbers, as they typically are Hightstown High School and Krebs Middle School, which makes sense. So, we see that more often as students move into the higher grades, that there might be some physical conflicts. All of these incidents that are represented here are fights, just for some context of what we're seeing there. I do want to point out as we're going through, so you'll notice that the report period 2 for last year was, quite a bit higher in both buildings than report period 1. Report period 1 covers September through December, and report period 2, as I mentioned, is January through June. So there's a whole lot of extra time in that report period 2. I also usually talk about how during report period 1, sometimes it's more of a honeymoon period for students. Everyone's kind of getting in, getting settled, getting acclimated to the building. And then by the time we reach that January, February, March timeframe, everybody's settled in, and sometimes things that maybe, started simmering earlier in the school year kind of come to a pitch later on in the school year. Our next category is vandalism, and you'll see some of the incidents that must be reported as vandalism. Again, Hightstown High School and Krebs, they are at that developmental stage where we start to see some of these things come out in incidents that would qualify as vandalism. Substances. So we talk about this a lot, what actually is reportable as a substance offense and what is not reportable. We talk a lot, we hear a lot about vaping. Often that vaping is tobacco, so that is not something that is represented in these numbers. At the high school report period 2, we had 21 incidents, and at Krebs we had 16. And once I finish all of the numbers, I'm going to talk about some of the remedial measures that we're working through. Weapons, we had 0 in all buildings for report period 2. Just a quick overview of what would qualify as an incident that we report as a weapon. And here are our HIB confirmed numbers for report period 2. And these are cases, so we investigate a lot of cases. These are cases in the second half of the school year that were found to be substantiated as HIB in the buildings.
Hey, Lauren, before you continue, could you just back up and just clarify with the substance abuse what the substances were? And also with the weapon, if you could just identify what the weapon was for one incident.
So the weapon was for report period 1. Let me go to that. And I did talk about that in my last presentation. That weapon, report period 1, was a pocket knife. So, we had conversation with student, conversation with parents about how, although there was no malintent for the student having a pocket knife in the backpack, that's not something that can be tolerated.
Substances for report period 2, we had marijuana and I believe alcohol. Yes, so those are the 2 substances that we had. Sure. All right, so I want to just spend a little bit of time related to the SSDS, talking about some of the proactive and remedial measures that we have in place. So I think the first thing that comes to mind when we're talking about these incidents is discipline. And what we've really been working on is consistency of consequences. So that's across the board for all grade levels in the high school, making sure that everyone's kind of talking and on the same page about what consequences should be. Same thing with the middle school, all different grade levels. We're working on being consistent there. And then also across the buildings, middle and high school, so that there's some level of everybody's on the same page about what type of incident should constitute what type of consequence. We're working on restorative practices. So last year at the high school, we piloted to actually bring back Navigate 360. And that is a platform which consists of social emotional learning lessons, some character education, and that gives students an opportunity to go through certain modules. Often they were assigned as part of a student who received in-school suspension as a consequence. So students, in addition to their academic work, would work through some of the 360 modules. And then there's also a reflective piece at the end of those modules. So students would go through, do the work, and then kind of reflect on the incident that occurred and then what they learned from the 360 modules. And counselors were involved in that reflection piece. We also have some student mediation happening. This is really K-12. But I think when we're talking about a lot of these incidents, they do tend to be 6-12. So counselors are involved in mediating conflicts between students. I do want to point out that this year we were fortunate enough to be able to hire additional counseling staff at the middle school. So this year we do have 2 counselors per grade level to support students and really to be available, to be more proactive and hopefully getting out ahead of some of the situations that are going on between students before conflicts happen. We're also offering opportunities for students to get involved in the community, whether that be in the school or in the town or in the county. Our student assistance counselors are working with students with all issues regarding substance, so they are pushing into classrooms, they have individual caseloads. So anytime a student is found to be in possession of a substance, the student assistance counselor will follow up with that student and have individual meetings with them. We have installed vape sensors at the middle school and the high school this year, so we are off and running with those. We're running a vaping presentations, assemblies for students, middle school and high school next week. And there's also a parent presentation that's going to be on the 23rd, and that's open to all parents in the district, and it will be held here at the high school. We also, for the first time this year, are participating. The Department of Health is running a tobacco survey. So we're going to be surveying our high school students about their habits related to tobacco and hopefully use some of that data to drive some of our programming. Okay, so now I'll move on to the ABR self-assessment, Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. So every year we're required to take a self-assessment at to kind of gather all of the programming that we're providing, what's been happening with our school climate and safety teams, and really make an honest assessment of what we're doing well, maybe where we might be missing the mark somewhere, and then, you know, update our plan for the following year.
So the ABS is involved in this process. That's the anti-bullying specialist. And the anti-bullying specialist and other members of the school safety team are working with the building administration to go through some of these core elements. So this gives you an idea of some of the kind of broader topics where we're assessing ourselves on. We're looking for core element 1, programs, approaches. We want to make sure that annually we're establishing our programs. Everything is planned out for the entire year, and that we have a plan in every building. Core element 2 relates to training, and that's training of school employees, contracted service providers, volunteers, that everyone who is, and also other instructional staff and training programs is core element 3. So essentially, we want to make sure that everyone that is in the building understands the policies and is able to make a report if they feel like they need to, and just everyone has an awareness of the HIB policy. Core element 4 relates to curriculum and instruction on HIB, observing the week of respect, and really engaging in character education K-12 and providing age-appropriate instruction that focuses on prevention. Core element 5 is HIB personnel, so making sure that we have an ABS in each building, which we do. Core element 6 is the incident reporting, so we need to be sure that students have multiple means of, and students and families and staff have multiple means to be reporting any potential incident of HIB. Core element 7 relates to our procedures, notification to parents. And core element 8 is HIB reporting, ensuring that staff member reports for all incidents. So that's essentially what we're doing now. So if you take a look at, this is a snapshot for all buildings. So the building teams engaged in this process, I would say probably towards the end of the summer and through September, when they could get everybody together, go through each of the elements and score ourselves. And I know that I talked about this before, but I just want to underscore that, yes, this is compliance. We are required to do this, but we do sit down and we take a look at everything with fidelity, because our goal is to make sure that we are providing the best services to our students, that they're getting everything that they need, and that we are doing everything that we can to prevent any incidents of bullying. So these are our numbers compared to last year. Last year, our average was 74.5. So we have ticked up 75.5 is our average across the buildings. These are our anti-bullying specialists. You'll notice that high school and middle school, we investigate significantly more cases than in the K-5 buildings. So we do have 2 specialists at the high school and 2 at the middle school, and then 1 in each of the K-2 and 3-5 buildings. So I talked a little bit about school climate and safety teams, but just to review that school climate and safety teams meet twice per year at a minimum in all buildings. I know that they meet more often than that. They review discipline data. They take a look at any trends that they might be seeing in a particular building, and talk about how we might be able to address some of those trends. If we see, specific things coming up with students having conflicts about the same kinds of things, how can we address those? Week of Respect activities, we just wrapped that up last week. Seems longer, but yeah, that was last week. Our Red Ribbon Week activities, our SEL lessons that are happening. We are doing SEL lessons with counselors in the K-5 buildings, and at CREPS,
They're doing lessons through they have an SEL committee. The SEL committee puts together lessons and pushes them out through teachers. We are using Stop It again this year. So we rolled that out last year, and that's an anonymous reporting tool for students to tell us if there's an incident of potential HIV that they're aware of, or there's a conflict, or just a concern. Some of the reports that we've gotten through Stop It are just, for an example, it might just be like, I'm having a hard time with so-and-so and I need some help with this. So that's just been, we haven't gotten a ton of reports coming from Stop It, but we have uncovered some situations that otherwise, maybe we would not have known about. This year, we're also going to roll out the School Climate Improvement Survey, which is a partnership. It's the Department of Education and Rutgers University. So we're going to be doing that survey for grades 3 through 12. And what's interesting, and I think going to be really powerful information that's going to come out of this, is we are not just surveying students. So we're surveying students and staff, and really trying to get a sense of the overall school climate in every building. And then, of course, I always just like to talk about counseling and how counseling factors into reducing the number of HIVs and hopefully conflicts. Counselors are used as a follow-up to discipline if there is an HIV confirmed. Also, oftentimes, counselors will get involved with the student who was the named aggressor for that case, and also for the victim. And those might be different types of conversations, but counselors are involved to support. And finally, this is just a quick overview of some of the HIV trainings that we run each year for staff. All staff do their required GCN training, and there is a fairly lengthy module on GCN for HIV. We talk about it in building faculty meetings. Every year for new teacher orientation, there is a segment where we go over the law, the policy, same thing for each summer in the administrator retreat. I meet with the ABSs a few times throughout the year, and also will encourage them to engage in outside training whenever I find a professional development opportunity that relates to anti-bullying specialists. I encourage them to do that. Okay, any questions?
Oh, you have one?
Thanks so much, Lauren. I had a question about the Stop It. How is that information disseminated to the students? Because I wonder if my girls had no idea of it. And I think it could be very helpful. So how do you or the specialists get that word out to the students about it?
I have a little bit, and then I'll probably lean on Mrs. Felicetta. I know that in the beginning of the year, we do disseminate. There's some flyers, there's some posters. I think we did send out an email.
Yeah, so we did assemblies, anti-bullying assemblies with each grade level of prep. That presentation has been shared out, so we posted them online. That information was reviewed, so the anti-bullying specialist reviewed it with each grade level of prep.
Basically, the same thing our town hall meeting, we talked about it. We got a lot of materials handouts that's on our website, and we have talked about how to report activities.
Can certainly do another push out.
Just to clarify, the Stop It's only for grades 6 through 12.
Yes. Any other questions?
Hi, thank you so much for the presentation. It was very detailed. I do have just a few questions. So when we talked about substances, and you mentioned that marijuana and alcohol was for the middle school and the high school, are you saying that there was alcohol and marijuana found at the middle school, or were you just saying that the middle school and the high school had marijuana and alcohol?
The middle school and the high school, we have marijuana at both. And I believe alcohol was only at the middle school for that report period.
Okay. All right. And then when we scroll down to one of the slides where you talked about, I'm so sorry. One of the slides where you talked about consistency. What slide was that? All right, when we talked about proactive and remedial measures, and we talked about consistency of consequences, is this a continued practice or is this something new since the equity audit?
I don't know how it relates to the timing of the equity audit. I know that last year, this is something that I talked about here, actually, that this was a concerted effort on the part of all of the building administrators to make sure that one AP isn't giving out, a more lenient consequence, that there's some consistency there. So I'm not sure how that might relate.
No, so each year we review the code of student conduct at each of the grade levels. The consistency of consequences, I just want to clarify that. There is developmentally a difference between students at the middle school and the high school. So, for some instances, there may be comparable consequences, but I don't want to, a sixth grade student may not receive the same level of consequence that a junior at the high school may receive for a similar infraction. I think twofold, within a building, the code of student conduct is a playbook of sorts. It's not a lockstep approach, but we do want to make sure that there's an element of consistency as it relates to, the types of consequences. And there's some other factors that relates to, the frequency of a particular behavior. But yes, there should be some articulation and awareness between the middle school and the high school because, we want to make sure, for example, that, all things being equal, that a consequence at the middle school is not something that may be viewed as actually more significant or severe compared to something that may be assigned at the high school. So on the one hand, look, discipline and consequences, they should be logical, they should be developmentally appropriate. We do have an obligation to make sure that students, via the code of student conduct, understand the parameters. So it's almost like, these are the things that you should avoid, right? And if you choose not to, these are some of the potential consequences that may come along with that. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that, one, from an issue of equity and fairness, that we are being cognizant of when we're assigning consequences to students, especially when it's a first occurrence, that we're in the same ballpark and we're not looking to just be kind of arbitrary in terms of how we're issuing those consequences. I'm having this conversation now, putting to the side, for example, a student who may be finding themselves receiving a certain level of consequence more often than another student. Then we have to kind of look at that student as an individual and look to see how we can best support them. But they may not receive consequences in a way that another student may receive them, who is not as frequent in terms of those decisions. So I think that the notion was making sure, one, within buildings, especially because you have multiple assistant principals of both the middle school and the high school, that they have an awareness in terms of how they're issuing consequences. But also between the middle school and the high school, just to have an awareness developmentally where there's some commonality, but also some distinct differences just based on the age of the students, right?
All right, thank you for that. All right, next question was the vaping program that's going to be held at the high school. Is it being recorded?
I'm not sure yet. So I did
Okay.
reach out to the presenter because I would need to get the presenter's permission. If he's okay with us doing that, then we can certainly set that up. So I can follow up on that once I hear back.
Okay. And then my last question is on the self-assessment slide that talked about the grades. So we had some improvements. Was administration provided like the breakdown on what the improvements actually were? Because these numbers are, like, we see the whole number, but we don't see the breakdown. Like, was the core element 5 improved, or was it element 7 improved? So was I'm assuming, right, that administration was provided like the breakdowns?
By administration, you mean?
No, I'm saying like, did the anti-bullying specialist provide the superintendent, like the principals, like here's the breakdown of what improved and what needs improving?
Yeah, so the anti-bullying specialist will always be working as a team with the building administration to come up with these grades. So it's usually the ABS, the principal, maybe an assistant principal, sometimes maybe another member of the school safety team who's working through this, because it is a lot of information and everybody's kind of putting it together from their angle. So these grades are actually submitted by the building principals.
Lauren, I think the question is though, if, in just looking at this, most of these grades are comparable in terms of the overall grades. I think if you look at the high school, going from 69 to 74, I think, and I don't want to ask the question for you, but I think you're asking what category, right? I think that's the question.
Anyway.
So we can get that information
yeah.
for you.
All right, that's what mine was gonna be. You're done.
All right, thank you.
That's what mine was gonna be. So then the other one I had then was about the vape sensors. How do those work? Is there like an alarm that goes off, or like does the message get sent to the principal so that they can look at the camera and see who's in there?
Yes.
So that's part one. Part two is have there been any findings yet?
So to answer the first part of your question, there's no alarm, but there are alerts that are received by principals, assistant principals, security. People are getting a lot of alerts. So then what they'll do is they'll do exactly that. Follow up, check cameras, check that particular area wherever the sensor went off, and then follow up with those students.
Let me just.
Sorry, can I?
Yeah, let me just clarify that though. So right now, these have been newly implemented. So yes, we have an app and there's notifications that that individuals receive based on the activity in the bathroom, because that's where they're installed, and also locker rooms. But because it's so new, my guidance to the administrative team is really to follow the data. So, as we look at and map out where we believe there may be some volume in terms of alerts, time of the day, location, and then use that as an opportunity to kind of map out and deploy and monitor, how we kind of identify what that looks like. So right now, we're kind of learning the sensors in terms of, their level of sensitivity, the things that may be triggering them, the time frame that it may take from, the sensor to pick up on something that they would identify as vape evidence within a restroom. So I think we're trying it on for size. I think it is serving as a deterrent, because that's the main reason that we're looking to do that. Obviously when we talk about when a sensor alert is received and we have a location for it, yes, there's going to be an opportunity to go to that location. Two, if we believe we need to, we can review the cameras. Obviously not in the restroom, but outside the restroom, and look to determine if we don't identify students who may be there at that point in time. And granted, I could be a student just that's in the bathroom and not participating in that. So I do think, to some degree, the fact that there's some conversation that may occur, not an accusation necessarily, but a conversation, I think that has created, and we have students here that probably can attest to that. In some instances, it might create, I just think, a heightened level of awareness as it relates to where we are. So I think as we become more accustomed to the devices, I think it'll enable us to have a better working rhythm in terms of, gauging usage and whether or not we're seeing some decrease. Because I'd like to think that that's where we're looking to go. But those, right now, we're in the process of just kind of there's been a few trainings that the teams have engaged in because it's almost like they were activated. We kind of used them. Then it was like, oh, we have some questions, right? In terms of like, how do we interpret that? So that's kind of where the teams are currently. So it's early stages, but I think that, the goal is to ensure that we are reducing incidents of vape within our schools. Hoping that's the direction we'll continue to go in.
Thank you.
I have a question. So for the data, would it be possible to share with us anything from the prior school year as well?
Sure.
I'm kind of curious just to be able to look at the same period from the prior reporting year. And does the state make available any kind of a general, like, what does New Jersey see as like a per capita incident rate? So, if we have, because what I'm seeing on your report is we had in many instances an almost doubling of instances from the reporting periods. And I know that there's a difference between the first half of the year and the second half. You made a comment about just people getting into the school year and
Also, just I think the sheer amount of time.
well, yeah.
Yeah, it's 4 months
Sure.
versus 6 months.
But when you have reporting period 1 and reporting period 2,
Mhm.
when you're looking at data like that, you're combining, you're comparing them. So we either need to change the reporting periods to be a harmonious amount of dates, so it doesn't look so skewed. But just, for our benefit, or at least, for the way I like to review things, if it's possible to get a look at year over year versus period to period.
Yeah, I
And
can
then
definitely
also-
share that out. And I generally do include some information about the, once a year in the performance reports, the state does release a per capita number. So I can also share that out.
Yeah, just, just from the sake of
Mhm.
how are we seeing the trends in our district, not only from period to period, but year to year, and how do we trend against comparable districts within the state to see if there's any additional support we need to be providing, our staff, or if there's anything that the board can support as an initiative to further, build up this program.
Sure, yeah, that's doable.
I'll just add, just as a editorial, our numbers are, we can always improve. But in terms of the bigger items on there, like weapons and so, and I don't want to say something that I'll regret saying, but I do think that we're intentional, but I think we're always looking for ways in which we can enhance school climate, school culture. And I always go back to the fact that we want to make sure that we are providing environments where students feel connected to the school community. And we know that for some of our students, there are some students that, depending on what's happening, they are not as connected. And it may lend themselves to kind of engaging in some behaviors that are not as healthy. But, I do believe that, we'll get you the data. I do believe that we are, in terms of the size of our school district, the demographics of our school district, I feel positive in terms of our direction.
Which I think that's awesome. But when you put the data together and there's a good story to tell, then you should definitely lift up,
Tonight was just the date.
Yeah.
We did not want to editorialize.
I know, that's completely understood. Yep.
Thank you, Lauren.
We'll now move on to item 4, superintendent report.
Okay, well, good evening again. Couple of highlights there. I would just want to echo congratulating our 25-year employees tonight. So thank you again to Sherry, Renee, Julia, Patricia, Teresa, John, and Carlos. Really appreciate their dedication. 25 years of service to the students and families of the East Windsor Regional School District. So thank you. On tonight's agenda, there's a new employee. under the administrative umbrella and assistant principal recommendation for Melvin H. Krebs Middle School. So I'm pleased to recommend the appointment of Ms. Gretchen Camiso to serve in the role of the assistant principal at Melvin H. Krebs. If you recall, Katie Minto, currently assistant principal at Krebs, will be transferring over to Perio Drew School. So she's excited as well tonight that Ms. Camiso is on the agenda. So therefore we can begin to solidify that transition with her moving over to PLD. Ms. Camiso currently serves as a middle school assistant principal in Upper Darby, PA. Today, as you know, we did not have any students. It was a professional development day for our staff. I just want to provide a quick update regarding, well, our educators, I should say. Just a quick update regarding kind of what the day entailed. So today was a day where we had, I call it a for us, by us, because primarily the professional development that was offered today was facilitated primarily by our supervisors and our building administrators. I want to commend them for the planning and so forth that went into that. We also had a couple of outside providers as well, providing some support. The day, for the most part, started here for our 312 educators, our K2 educators. We're engaging a leader in me, facilitation connected to the work within their buildings. Our 312 educators did begin the day here. We had a motivational keynote by Brad Butler, who is by nature a motivational speaker, author. He's also a Hightstown High School graduate, I believe class of 2006, so kind of served as a good way to begin the day. He kind of echoed and really talked about his journey, but really talked about how teachers here within our school district enabled him to grow and see his impact as a young adult. So it was a huge thank you to the teachers here. Today, really just as I said, facilitated by our administrative team and teachers. And we had wide-ranging, relevant workshop opportunities stemming from classroom management strategies to culture-responsive teaching to co-teaching partnerships and strategies to support literacy instruction. Last week, here in this same space, had the opportunity to attend the collaboration between the district and HUCPAC. There was a resource fair that was well attended, well planned, and kind of served as an opportunity for parents of our special education students to get a sense of the kind of support resources that are within the county and surrounding the county. So there were a number of vendors here, and served as an information session from that standpoint in terms of the resources that are available. It also served as an opportunity for the Student Services Department to provide a presentation led by Dave Rowe, our Director of Student Services. We also had all of our case managers within the district here that evening as well. And it served as an opportunity just to kind of highlight and clarify the role of the case manager and that connection and monitoring the student's IEP. So I'd like to commend our HUCPAC as well as Mr. Rowe and all of our student services members who were here that evening. There was some food, obviously you need some food, but it was a well attended event, and I thought it was a good bridge between the district and the community. On the October 28th Board of Education meeting, the administration will present the student performance data from the spring administration of the NJSLA. That's a requirement that districts need to do 60 days after receiving the data from the New Jersey Department of Education. So that'll be an NJSLA presentation, as well as the DLM, which is really less than 1% of our students participate in the DLM, but nonetheless, we'll be reporting out regarding how students fared this spring. And with that, it concludes my report. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? None? We'll move on to item 5, first opportunity for board member comments. Do any board members have any comments? Anything they want to share?
I was able to go to the marching band competition last Friday. I just wanted to congratulate anyone who had any part of putting that on. It's a huge undertaking to put together a competition and to be able to host it at the school for, I don't know, the 3rd time or 4th time in a row, something. Yeah, 3rd time in a row. it's just great to see all the schools come, including one from New York. So congratulations to everyone who had a part in that. It was great.
Anyone else? I just wanted to echo off Mark and congratulate all of the 25-year recipients. Also, to say what a good turnout it was for the event that happened last week with student services and CPAC. It was a great turnout, and it was nice to see so many people from the community there. And the fair part was really great, and it was a good variety of people there. And I also wanted to thank, there was the financial aid night for senior parents at the high school, which was also great and very helpful. So thank you to anyone who participated and coordinated that. If there's no other board member comments, we'll move on. First opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? If there's none, then we will adjourn for executive session. What do you think? We should probably be gone around 30 minutes, and then we'll be back. Thank you. Okay, we're back in session. Let's move on to item 7, old business. We have our committee meeting dates on there. Looks like the next meeting is policy on the 28th.
Actually, policy's meeting on the 17th.
Oh.
It's not on there, but and the 28th.
Oh, both, okay. If we could just make that change, I guess. Paul, can you make that change, please? Next we have access data present.
Wait, could I?
Yes.
I really, in lieu of time, I really wanted to discuss the curriculum committee notes from April, but since it's almost 10 o'clock, can we please put the curriculum meeting notes on the next agenda? And also then Sandy could be prepared and everybody could look over those because there's a lot of in-depth items on there that need to be discussed. And I've been asking for this since April, and I really want it on the agenda to talk about. It's in regards to graduation requirement policy, AP courses, and there's one other thing. And one other thing on there. But if Tina had sent out the notes to all of us in August, so I'm going to be speaking or have questions on those. And I don't know if Sandy's here. If you could, will you be here to be able to just answer those? Oh, okay, so she'll be here. And then one other thing, Nicole, there was a policy approved in September on committees, on board committees. And it said that a committee chair will be identified and we will also be given the roles and responsibilities of the committee. So when do you anticipate that that would be done?
Honestly, I think it's something that should wait until January with the reorganization. To do it now, there's only a couple meetings left until the end of the year. I think that's what makes the most sense, unless there's objections from the whole board.
No, that's fine, but I think we could approve it then, but I mean, do we have roles and responsibilities, like a list? Because then we're gonna it's just gonna push the time frame back for that, like.
So we've never had chair, as long as I've been on the board, we haven't had a chairperson for committees. We've always had an administrative liaison, is that the correct term? For committees, so we would have to start then having, per the policy, a chairperson for each committee. So, I mean, that's all we would have would be the committee and a chairperson and an administrative lead for each committee.
And the policy also states, though, like the roles and responsibilities of each committee will be stated. We don't have that, I don't think.
I don't understand what the rules.
Like what's the finance committee responsible for? What's the protocol of the policy committee? We don't have the roles and responsibilities of what the finance looks like.
Do you have to follow the policy verbatim? I'm just curious. Like, if a policy says you have to have X, Y, Z, do you have to follow that verbatim?
I'd have to review the specific policy to see exactly what it says.
It wasn't one that we just approved, so it was a revised policy on committees. And we had in there that we were going to have these committees, and then at the end it said something like we could always do committee as a whole, and then we could have ad hoc committees. But that
Right, I remember that part, but
in that one, it said something about each committee will be named a chairperson, and there'll be roles and responsibilities for the committee.
So, let me backtrack on that one. I think when I came here initially,
you had asked the board members if you would be interested in, like, want to be part of a, let's say, finance committee. So you would normally email it to Paul, and then it would be forwarded to you, I'm assuming Nicole, and there would be a list of people who want to be interested in that particular committee. So I think that was the process we had used when I came aboard. Is that that's what I guess, is that what we'll be doing next year as well? If you have any interest in, let's say, doing a policy.
I mean, if I remember, in January, we had the list of the committees and who was on the committees, and then if anybody who was currently on that, just say finance, if you were on finance, did you want to stay on finance? If there was an opening on finance, if somebody else wanted to take that spot, that's how we've done it. As far as roles and responsibilities for each committee, that's not something that we've done before, and I understand it's a new policy. I'm just curious if for each policy, if it has to be followed verbatim. I'm just curious on that.
Isn't that the reason why we have policies, is to
Not
follow?
every, I mean, when I was,
It depends on the it depends on the you have to remember how technical legalese is, so it depends on, I'm pulling it up now, I'm trying to.
It's policy 0155.
And it was just up
Approved
for second.
August 26th.
August 26th for second reading, so it wasn't approved, it was just.
It says revised August 22nd.
Right.
So that it was, I mean, it's posted to board docs as approved.
Oh, it is, okay, for second reading. So it's from second reading, once it goes through second reading and it's approved on the agenda, then it's enacted, okay.
thank you, Amanda, I meant legally, because I know that sometimes there's a lot of verbiage in there for policies.
So I think, just while we're waiting to get, I think since, if we do want to have roles and responsibilities, I think it would be best for, if we're going to do a chairperson, starting having a chairperson maybe in January, and we all sort of agreed that, I guess we all agree that that's a good idea, and maybe have the group sort of decide, you know, for themselves what they're responsible for, and then present it to the rest of the group to see if everybody agrees that that's something that, you know, that serves the purpose of the committee for the rest of the folks. Does that make sense? I mean, I think it would be hard for, I think the group can do that. And it shouldn't take very long, be very straightforward. So if we went ahead and whatever the committees, you know, shook out in January, we would then, you know, start following the policy of having a chairperson and then deciding what that person, why that person existed, what they would do differently than the other members, and then, you know, determine what the focus of the group would be. And that might change, you know, based on what was happening at the time, but I think that's my thought on that.
What language are you referring to exactly?
A chairperson shall be appointed by the president. And the committee shall be provided with a list of its function and duties.
Okay. It uses the word shall, so I would say yes. A chairperson should be appointed, and a list of its functions and duties should be provided, but you have to remember that this doesn't specify exactly what a list of functions and duties are, so it could be something that's very concise, or it could be something that's very detailed.
So does everyone agree with Jenna's idea? Is that something that we should wait until January for the reorg? Have your committees, the president would appoint a chairperson for each committee, and then each committee can decide what their roles and responsibilities are. Is that fine?
So, wait, should we, so I'm only reading it, and Amanda, for you, it says, the committee shall be provided with list of functions and duties. Should we change that to?
Functions, couldn't remember functions and duties.
Right,
so I
no,
said
but
roles and
it says the
responsibilities.
committee shall be provided with. Should we change it to the committee shall develop a list of their functions and duties, or not?
I don't think it's necessary to change. If this is something new, you guys have to establish. This wasn't something that's been done before. I mean, in the same breath, you could also revise the policy to remove that a list of functions and duties has to be supplied.
If there's nothing else on committee meetings, item B under old business was the Access data presentation, if there was any follow-up. Questions from any board members?
I just had one question. Is there a normal length of time that students are in, like ESL, like in the district, or do we try and get them
You mean
out?
like a typical length?
Right, like if someone is in kindergarten, they come in as, ESL, are they still in that program when they get to high school? Or
We don't want them to be. So obviously, we want to make sure that right now if students are eligible for bilingual services, we are embracing their L1, especially under the Spanish umbrella, to ensure that they're proficient in that, and then looking to transition them. So we want to do it in a meaningful way. I can get back to you regarding a projection of what a typical student's journey would be. Look, if a student enters in kindergarten, obviously they're a little bit more of a sponge, and we can move them forward. But the goal is not to have a student receiving bilingual services for 5, 6, 7 years if we're doing it the right way.
Are there any other questions on that topic? Item C was the security audit recommendations. Are there any questions or concerns on that?
Just a thing, how is the high school, the secondary door? Are we on track with the construction?
It is amazing how these things kind of take on a life of its own. So we are expecting to receive the building permit any day now. Our contractor has agreed that once that is issued, he's willing to work second shift to, there's kind of two parts to that. There's the administrative, so right now we have an administrative office that's being split. Part of it's going to remain administrative office. The other part, it's going to become a security area. We're looking to get the administrative area done as soon as possible because we've displaced a staff member somewhere else. So we're looking to get the building permits to get the administrative side done and get that staff member back in there. We're hoping to have that hopefully the next day or two. And then the contractor has said that right now is a kind of a slower time for him. So getting the staff to come in and do the work, he can get them here pretty quickly to start working on that. The security side of things is a little more of a lead time because the actual security vestibule has to be ordered, excuse me. And then even with that, it's amazing when you start talking about things. So the conversation came up from our Heightstown construction official that the security window, the vestibule, the glass front, is actually sitting on an expansion joint in the concrete. And so now the architect had to go back and change the size of the entrance because the glass fell on an expansion joint. So that's kind of some of the stuff that they're working through. That stuff that has to get ordered for that's going to come in two phases, the actual glass wall and then the doors, which have a longer lead time. The actual glass probably should come in, no, not yet. But like I said, they're still going through the size of it. So they can't even order it because the size hasn't been finalized because it's sitting on an expansion joint because our construction official came out. But anyway, once they're finalized with that, the actual ordering of it, get it in, it's going to come in two phases. So you're going to see stuff come probably mid-November, end of November, and then some part after that.
Thank you.
Any other questions on security audit? There's not.
I'm sorry, I just had a quick question. Paul, does that mean that the cost of anything will change?
No.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 8, second opportunity for board member comments.
I'd like to report on the Wellness Committee meeting today. So we talked about the introduction to New Jersey school climate improvement that we talked about in the presentation this morning, doing a survey, and that would be all stakeholders, so parents, staff, students from grades 3 through 12. That would go out and it would be focused on assessing and improving school environments. They partner with Rutgers, trainings have happened with staff, and that would that would be a partner to the Panorama Survey. And it would be done once a year. We also talked about different programs sort of under the heading of school climate. There was, sorry, now I'm trying to remember. What everything was. Yeah, it's all here. I'm just trying to remember what everything was. So I'll just read what Dave wrote. We had a safety care training, staff training on preventing and de-escalating challenging behaviors with a focus on legal and ethical management of crisis situations. We talked about everyday speech program, a social emotional learning tool that helps neurodivergent students develop social skills and manage emotions and foster peer relationships. Talked about a program that we've had we returned last year called Suite 360, which is a social emotional learning platform. It's a comprehensive social emotional learning curriculum promoting positive behavior, character education, and mental health support. Those modules were talked about this morning as well. We talked about earlier as well. We talked about the sensory space at CREPS, which is designed to help students with sensory regulation and behavioral management through structured de-escalation processes. And we talked about Project Teach, a program supporting expecting and parenting teens by providing education, life skills, and career guidance. What did we also? There was one other thing I thought. Oh, they're also, is that the same thing? Yeah. I think that was it. Any questions? I don't have too much more information.
Can I just add, though, we also, during the meeting, talked about the New Jersey School Climate Improvement Survey that's done twice a year. So I thought that was interesting to know that all the different stakeholders are surveyed. And then we also talked about the Panorama Survey, but that's only for students. So yes, I thought that was interesting. And that way we can, get feedback from not just the student population, but with the NJSCI survey, we can also learn from all the other stakeholders, like their feedback as well.
Are there any other board members with any comments? If there's none, second opportunity for public comment. Are there any members of the public who have a comment or wish to speak? If there's none, we'll move on to item 9.
Item 9, mandated policies for second reading. A, Policy 1530, equal employment opportunities. B, Policy 1550, equal employment anti-discrimination practices. C, Policy 2260, equity in school and classroom practices. D, Policy 2411, guidance counseling. E, Policy 2423, bilingual and ESL education. F, Policy 2431.4, prevention and treatment of sports-related concussions and head injuries. G, Policy 5750, equitable educational opportunity.
Second.
Any questions? Pull the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Bougele,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
Yes.
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso.
Yes. Item 10.
A Regulation 2431.4, prevention and treatment of sports-related concussions and head injuries.
Second.
Any questions? Pull the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Bougele,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
Yes.
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso.
Yes. Item 11.
Recommended policies for second reading, Policy 3211, Code of Ethics. B, Policy 5570, Sportsmanship. C, Policy 5841, Secret Societies. D, Policy 5842, Equal Access of Student Organizations. E, Policy 7610, Vandalism. F, Policy 9323, Notification of Juvenile Offender Case Disposition.
Second.
Any questions?
It's not a question, but on the sportsmanship policy 5570, on item 5, there's a typo in that sentence to be fixed.
Any other questions or comments? Pull the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Bougele,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
Yes.
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso.
Yes. Item 12.
12, mandated policies for first reading. A, Policy 1523, Comprehensive Equity Plan. B, Policy 1140, Educational Equity Policies Affirmative Action Program. C, Policy 1140, oops, it's twice. Sorry, there's actually, that's on there twice. Is that the same thing? So only two. We have A and B.
Yeah, it's already been deleted.
Okay.
Second.
Any questions? Pull the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Yes.
Ms. Bougele,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel, Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
Yes.
Ms. Collier,
Yes.
Ms. LaRusso.
Yes. Item 13.
Motion to approve routine items by exception. Having read the materials received, I move that the board approve the routine agenda items as submitted. A, staffing, October 14th, 2024. B, HIB report from September 30th, 2024. C, evaluation system. D, out-of-district placement. E, approve new field trip sites. F, approve travel and related expenses, virtual and in person. G, non-resident students. H, transportation jointures. I, approval to submit to DOE. J, donation to Buildings and Grounds Department, shelving for Building 4. K, confirmation of 24-25 budget passage and tax levy. L, board minutes for September 30th, 2024. executive session, board minutes, September 30th, 2024, and report of the board secretary and financial report, August 2024. O, expense and transfer reports of school monies, report for August 2024. P, bill list of October 14th, 2024.
Second.
Any questions?
I do have a question with E. With field trips, so like some grades, right? The grades have like their staple field trip, right? Like they go to certain places based on the grade. This one, it talks about the first grade is going to Fernbrook Farm. Why are they going there rather than Lee Turkey Farm, which they usually go to?
I actually don't know, Gene. It's a good question. I'm not sure. I can find out. All right.
All right, thank you.
Are there any other questions? Hold the board, please.
Ms. Drake,
Yes.
Ms. Murphy,
Abstain from 13A, line 6, and then 13C. Yes to everything else.
thank you. Ms. Bougely,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks,
Yes.
Ms. Patel,
Yes.
Ms. Salter,
On A, yes to line 6, abstain on all the others lines, abstain L, and abstain M.
thank you. Ms. Collier,
Abstain from L, M, and A. Yes to the remainder.
thank you. Ms. LaRusso,
Yes. We have no need for executive session. Motion to adjourn. Thank you. Have a good night.